Hey everybody, Android-ness here. In this video, we're going to be learning about Room database in Android Kotlin. In this video, you won't be seeing my face because it's not really, I don't think it's really needed. That's one reason. The other reason is because I'm in a dark place right now, a dark, quiet place. So, without wasting much time, let's get started. So this is the project we'll be using. Uh, I've already installed or I've already pasted the dependencies that I will be using for this project. So the link to the GitHub repo will be in the description. So just clone the project, clone the unfinished branch, and you'll get the unfinished project with the dependencies in the Gradle script. So create a new project. Okay, let's create a new project. Let me just those projects. New, you select empty activity. So this empty activity is compose only, compose no Java. Name of your application, you can call it to do app, and then you can change the package name. So, and then you click on finish. Although I've already done all of that. And one thing you notice here is that I forgot to change the package name. It still has one of my older projects. So this is what the initial project look like. Your main activity, you have your class main activity, which extends the component activity, which is the base class for an activity in Jetpack in Android in Jetpack Compose. You have this greeting composable and greeting preview. So this is the composable. Pretty sure you already know what the composable is. And then this to preview what you want in your screen for this preview here. So we have to build and refresh first. Although this will just simply show Android on the screen. Yeah, just you show sorry, you show hello Android because of this concatenation. So go ahead and clear all of this. So we'll clear this also, and then we'll remove this. Sorry, that's AI. So these are blank projects. So first thing we have to do is create the structure or the packages of which we'll be using. We won't be really be using clean architecture. That will be for like another video. This project is mainly tailored and focused for you to understand the Room database in Android Kotlin. So the first package you'll be creating is data for the data layer. This will catch or house all the local things you'll be doing. Local things like the repository, the Roam database, everything that's not like that don't have to do with network, like for instance, making a network call or network request, everything that will be done in your Android phone locally. Like for instance, preferences, data store, all those things. So Roam is not it's stored in your phone, your phone's local database. So that's why it will be stored. That's why it will be in the local package. So let's go here and create another package. We'll call it local. The next package we'll create here is repository. So what this do is it acts like a middleman between the data layer and then the view model. So like this is where you write your business logic of which it will use in the view model. Or if you're following the clean architecture principles, it will be used in the use cases. Although there won't be any use cases in this project, so go ahead and create the another package presentation. So this is where UI will be UI composables and the rest. So this project will mainly the room database or the records in the tables we have or the entities will just be basic info of a particular user, name, email, phone number. Okay, yeah, we can add phone number too. So the first thing we want to do here is in the local, we'll create a new class, a data class. A data class is just a class that contains like data. So we'll call it entity, user entity. So this is a normal data class in Kotlin. Sorry, I think take a or never mind. So in order to make room understand or to create this as a table or as an entity in room, you simply annotate this with as entity. So in a database, there are tables. That tables contains your record, your column names, and then your rows. Sample of column names can be name, as we have here, name, email, password, etc. So this entity is the same thing as a table, although in Rome it's called an entity. So an entity is just a class in Kotlin, or is generally an object that contains attributes. And these attributes are the records, the column names that will be in our database. So we can also give this a table name. As you can see, as I said, table name. So the table name can be is of type string, so we can call it user table. So you will see how I make use of this in another aspect of the Roam feature that will be in the DAO. So we haven't gotten there yet. So the next thing we want is name is of type string. So obviously the name has to be string. But email, email is string also, and then phone, just call it phone. So this will be an integer. So we have these are the basic records we want to be using in our entity. So in every table, every record has to have an ID. So the ID is either to delete a particular record by its ID or to get a particular record by its ID. So you just like to differentiate this record from this other record. So up here I have ID. ID will be an integer, obviously, and then we'll give you a default value of 0. So when we are creating a new user, it is not really ideal for the user to put in his own ID. The user won't even know because it's something that it's not ideal. Okay, like for instance, you are creating a new record. Let me see. You have the learning management system website, and then you want to create courses. You won't put the ID. So the ID is incremental, and this is done by the program written by the developer. So in order to do this in our room, you simply on top of the column name or the attributes, which in this case is ID, you simply give primary key, primary key bracket auto generates true. So in every record, we will only fill the name, email, and phone, and room will automatically just add +1 the ID. So it looks at the rest of the ID, the last value, and then just add +1 for any new record that will be added. So another cool thing we can do in Roam is that each and every one of these uh, columns we can give name, and we can call it we call it username. So you can give each and every one of these attributes column name, but in this case we will not be, because name is already in the standard form. If it were to be employee name, so since this is like a naming convention in Kotlin, which is what they call camel case, we can this is where we can actually like make use of the company info and give it employee underscore name, since this is like the ideal name for like SQL queries, but we won't be doing enough that, so we'll leave it as name. So we have our entity table here. The next thing we want to do is create our data access object. So our data access object is an interface that contains the SQL queries that we can query or perform on our entities. For instance, we can get all the records in the database or in the table or in the entity, and we can also delete, we can insert, we can update, we can get all those things. So these are SQL queries, and we can. The reason why it's called DAO, data access object, because of this thing I just said. Like it's really self-explanatory. So we can call user DAO. As I say, it's an interface. Now for room database, you know that this is a DAO. We can annotate this with DAO. You don't really have to put in anything there inside. Now to insert a record inside the database. So I don't know if I said this earlier, but like the room is an ORM to object relational mapping. I think it's mapping or management. It's a library that lets you query SQL code without writing raw SQL statements. For instance, if this was being like any other, if you were to use like SQLite, the actual SQL, you will be writing all these things by hand, like writing raw SQL, writing things like insert into the table name where whatever. But with Room database, you don't really have to write all those raw SQL statements. You can just simply write. In this case, this method will be used for so the queries will be in the form of methods, which in this case is in an interface. So insert with the suspend insert user, and then user will give a user entity like that. So now this insert in the background scheme of things, what room will do is it will simply write a query, and that query will be insert into in this case user entity values, sorry, brackets, the column name, comma, what do we have here? Name, comma, email, comma, phone, values, and then the values of whatever we put inside there. But as you can see, we don't really write the raw SQL statements. We simply just use this annotation. It's that. So room, the background scheme of things, will take care of that for us. So in order to also update, we can simply there's an update annotation. But what I like to do is simply on conflict is equal to on conflict strategy dot replace. So simply import this. So what this simply means is that if there's a conflict, and where this conflict will come from is from the ID. You know, each record has a particular ID. So if there's a conflicting ID, don't panic, just replace the record with the new record with that ID. So in this case, what's being done is updates. But as you can see here, there's the updates annotation, but we already done update here. So the next thing we'll do is once we get a particular record, we don't want to get all the record, we just want to get a particular record. So this getting a particular record will enable us to update that record or to even delete. So how we do that is simple. We simply start with the query annotation. So what this query annotation is for writing raw SQL statements. Since there's a lot of things we can do with SQL, for instance, making mathematical operation on columns that are integers, and Room does not have all those annotations to do that for us. He also provides a query annotation that lets us write our own raw SQL statements. So inside here, I can write select. So one thing you notice is it's not really case sensitive, just like the original SQL, but the conventional way of writing it is all caps. So select star, which means all from user table. So where this user table came from is from this user entity. So what I wrote here, so if I should remove e, well, you will see that there's an error. So I'll just put the e back. I just wanted to show you. Select all from user table where the ID is equal to ID. So let me just write, I can just simply do this. So now what this simply means is select all the record from user table, which is entity class, user entity class, where the ID column, this ID column is equal to ID. So this ID refers to this parameter we have inside this function. So it simply just selects a particular record, just one record. Since each record have their own unique ID, no two records we have no two record will have the same ID. Otherwise, this on-config strategy will fix it by simply updating it. So it gets a particular user by its ID. So when we get that particular user by its ID, we can simply either delete the user, or we can update the user record. So the next thing is delete. So delete is simple. Okay, that's also suspend function. The name of the method is delete user, and then you will simply pass in the user or the user object you want to delete. So we've done for everything. So now let's write the method for getting all the whole records in the table in the user entity. So we can just, in the UI aspect of things, we can simply display all the users we have in our record. So for that, we can use query, and then we will select all from user table, as simple as that. Like, that's all. But in this case, we are selecting everything from the users table. It won't be a suspend function, rather it will be of type flow. So the reason why we'll be using suspend is because all of these things are simply one shot function. Once we call it, that's all. It doesn't do anything else again. But in this case, we want a form of, I don't want to say, a form of reaction. We want reactive programming in such a way that if there's a particular change in our table or in any of our record, it will simply observe that change, and then it will update the UI based on this change. So a library or a coroutine library used for that is called Flow. So Flow notices or observes changes, then emits the value based on what we are collecting in the UI, and then updates the UI based on this value it detected. So we can simply write form gets all users, and then the return types subtype flow, and then it will be of type list, because it will be a list of users. So there's an extra thing there. So now we are done with the data access object. The next thing we can do here is create the database. So this database will be a Room database. This is where the database will be. We're creating an instance of the Room database. So we can call it uh, user database. So here's the class. The next thing we are doing is that we're going to extend from Room database. So Room database is an abstract class. Is an abstract class. Okay, here is an abstract class, so I can simply make this abstract. So because since it's an abstract class, anything that is sent an abstract class has to be an abstract class also. So I can create a so what I just did here is simple. I just created the data access object as a function. So if we want to make use of the data access object, if we want to query our SQL, we will simply use it from the Room database instance that we have here. The next thing we do is create another package. We call it DI. So this is for dependency injection. So what we'll create an object. We call it app module. So the dependency injection is used for uh, if I'm to explain in a layman type of layman way. I don't want to like overcomplicate things. Is for instance, if I want to make use of the repository in the use case, I would have to instantiate it. If I don't instantiate it, it will be the default value will be null, and then obviously my application will crash since the objects of the repository don't have a value. So in the case of data dependency injection, and the library we're using is Dagger Hills, is others is Coin, but the standard is Dagger Hills, especially for native Android. But when we're using Dagger Hill dependency injection, we'll simply it's simply like a warehouse that keeps all these instantiates all these instances in one place, and then any class or any place where you need this particular instance, you simply do what you simply call it from Dagger Hills, and Dagger Hills will simply provide the instance from where each and every one of them are being stored, so they won't be null. I don't know if you understand, but like that's like the simplest way I can like explain it. Every other explanation I've seen on YouTube are using big words, of which you yourself you still have to go and Google it and see. So the first thing we will do is a model. So this telling Dagger you that this object will be a place where I will store all these my models, where I will store all these my instances. So install in. So where are we installing this singleton components? I think there's singleton components class. So this is also self-explanatory. So where Dagger Hills will be installing this app module is a singleton components class in such a way that the instances of each and every one of these dependencies will be singleton instead of it be dynamic, meaning only one instance over the whole life cycle of the application. Instead of creating duplicate instances, it will only create one instance, and that's why we also use an object. And I mean, it's the conventional way of using Dagger Hills. So provides. So what is simply this annotation is for us is telling Dagger that this method I'm about to write here is a module of which is providing something. So singleton, this singleton is also self-explanatory. I just need explain it. This instance will be of a singleton, meaning do not have duplicate instances. If this class is requesting for this instance or this object, and this class is also requesting for this object, give all these classes this particular object, this same object, and not create another object for it. Then is a function. So provide, you can write provide user database. So this user database, we have app application. So you see why we, we need it in a sec. So I'll call it user database. And then since I will simply return room, I really don't like this AI room.database builder. So one thing you notice is that it needs the context. The context, these are the parameters it needs, and this is why we also have this here. So where Daggerfit get this from, we have not actually implemented it. So whenever you're using Dagger Hills, you simply create a base class. I can call it to do application. It should be a normal class, and this class will simply extend application from Android app, and then I'll annotate it with fields. Android app. So this is where heat basically lives. Anytime we are injecting a context, this is where heat gets its context from. So the next thing we are doing now is on the manifest. We simply give our application name and then set it to do application. If you don't do that, it won't work. So this is where this application is coming from. So this application is like you can give it, in this case, a parameter we were supposed to supply an argument to its context. We can give app to it. So this app is coming from this to do application because there's a context. If you were to read all of this, you would think you would understand. Class, yeah, the room database class. So this is database. So it just needs the class where DAO is or the database class itself. So the next thing is the name of the database. So we can call it user DB. We can call it user DB. So after everything, we can call .view to finalize the process. So I think we were we are done with the DAO, we are done with the database, we are done with the user entity class. I can do away with this. So the repository, I can simply write user repository repository. So this will be your type interface. So this like provides abstraction of which we will implement this later on. So in order not to like go deep into why this is necessary, I will just leave it other explanation from now. So insert user, this user is user entity. You should not be using the user entity when using and doing clean architecture because whatever stay in the data layer, stay in the data layer. Because this interface repository will be at the domain layer. So separation of concerns is also involved in clean architecture. So suspend on, I think user, delete user. Okay, yeah, that's it. So import this flow here. Import the one from coroutine x.coroutines.flow. That's the actual flow you should be using. So we have all of these. These are the methods we'll be using in this particular repository. This is a mistake. So I will create the user repository IPL. So this is the class that will implement the interface repository, gaining or overriding all those functions. So this is the repository that will where you write like the business logic. The business logic in this case is simply what's calling the DAO methods. That's all. Since Room have done all those SQL query code for us, we simply just call what DAO on each of and every one of these methods of which you will see right away. So simply implement user repository interface. So when we implement it, we'll get an error is to implement the members. So this is OOP principle. When you implement a user interface, you simply will override the members. So now we will inject constructor. So we'll give this a constructor and then we'll import inject from Jakarta X, Jakarta.inject, sorry, Jakarta injects, and then what are we injecting or what do we need from fields? What do we need fields to provide us with? It is the user DAO. So the user DAO, the A and O is in all caps. So we'll simply now do what? Call, in this case, insert user, we'll call user DAO dot insert user, and then we'll pass in the user that's in this parameter. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that since the user DAO, as I explained earlier, contains the methods of which we methods that sorry, I think I will like cut that part out. But in case you still see it in the video just now, I'm very lazy and I don't know how to edit. So this user DAO class or this user DAO interface is a data access object interface that contains all the SQL queries in the form of methods that makes changes to the user entity in our database. Example is creating a new record, in this case, creating a new user in our entity class or in our entity table. Another example is getting a particular user by its ID in our table. And another example is deleting a user. So all of these, since Room database is an SQL, it's literally an SQL wrapper. So it makes building application on top of SQLite since it's SQL because the database is local in our Android phones, that's why it's SQLite. It makes building on top of SQLite easy. That's why it's a wrapper. And I also say is an ORM, object relational management mapping tool. Sorry, that's for me. All of these are being made easy. In like you can just simply call insert and then Room will simply at the background scheme of things insert into this table name all the old column values and the values. So all those things are being made easy for us to do. So go back and then um, this user DAO. One thing you will notice that in a dependency in our app module, it wasn't provided at all. So I will simply provide. I've explained what it provides. Is just telling Dagger here that this will provide an instance to any class or any place that needs this particular instance. Just give it to the just give it to the class. So we import. Okay, sorry, AI wrote all of this and I forgot to explain. So phone provide user repository of which we pass in our DB. In this case, our DB is our user database. Then we'll write user repository, not the implementation, rather the interface itself, and then we'll then return the implementation, user repository implementation, DB. I don't think this was okay. Yes, it was important. DB. So it needs a parameter or it needs an argument. If you should go back to this class, you see that we inside the constructor it needs a value, and that value is user DAO. And one thing, if you remember in our user database, this DAO is living inside the database. So we can just simply call db dot that user DAO that's here. So that's why if you should check the docs, this is actually how they did it. So like instead of providing a separate data access object interface instance, we can just simply do this. So I'll go back to our implementation. So here we can return since return user DAO to get user by ID. Here it does not have a return value, so user DAO dot delete user, which user will delete this user. And here we can return user DAO dot get all users. So that's everything we have in our repository too. That's everything we have in our repository too. And I think we are basically done. So the next thing, or what we have to do next, is create start creating the UI. So inside here, you create a new Kotlin file because when we're creating composables, it's not a class, rather it's a file because they are composables and you can just like call them anyway, and they don't need a class, unlike some frameworks like Flutter. So now we can simply call the name of this file. You can call it into you want. Uh, to-do list screen, and then this to be empty. So com sudo list screen. You can get rid of the modifier. We can separate them from each other. Uh, I don't. It's not really necessary. So let's go ahead and create the view model. So to do list screen view model. So this would be a class. So this class extends from the view model, since this is the view model. So this view model is part of the Android X lifecycle, as you can see from me importing it. So this caches an application screen state, and persists it through configuration changes. For instance, if you are using an Android phone or even an iOS phone, you may have not noticed this because obviously the application that you're using is being built by enterprise level Android developers. So they have like fixed all of these problems. So you rarely ever see it. But if you should, for instance, write something in a text field, rotate your phone. So that rotation of phone is a configuration change, and then that value you type in that your field will just disappear. So the configuration change there is rotating your phone. There are other configuration changes like switching your app from dark mode to light mode and vice versa. So what the view model will do is that once it notices that this phone is going through configuration changes, it gets all the values, holds them, and then when the configuration changes is done, it simply what? Here are your values back without you losing any vital information. Why is this? Why is this a problem? You may ask. You can be like, I mean, you can never, let me say, if you're typing something, you rotate your phone out, you can just type it all over again. Now, let me say, for an app like Facebook now, you've loaded all your posts, and then you see an interesting post, and then your application just mistakenly auto rotates. That's a configuration change. And if there's no any view model best practice to catch that state, it simply what fetches new post again, and then in a large app like Facebook, you've lost that post forever. So view model, I just don't know what view model. So if view model was being used there, or view model best practice was being used there, once it goes through configuration change, in this case, screen rotation, it gets all that post, caches them, and then it's like a shield. When that changes, or when that configuration change is being completed, it's simply what? Yo, yeah, your post back, or yeah, your badge back, untouched, unchanged, nothing. So we'll simply do what? First of all, since we're using Hills, we'll simply annotate this with Hills view model. One alternative with view model, that simply does is the life cycle of the view model will be tied to Hilt. So Hilt will manage the view model's life cycle. And also when we are trying to get the instance of view model in our to-do list screen, we will simply make use of what Hilt view model that can only be used in the life cycle or the scope of the composable. So the first thing we will do, or I can just simply do it in this place, is uh, data class. So what this data class is for is to-do list. It's just all the variables, or yeah, all the variables that are capable of changing the state of a screen. These are where it will be stored. So AI has already given us so val to do's. This will be of type list sorry, user uh, entity. So by default, it is an empty list. So I think that's basically the only thing. So since this is the only thing we won't have here, I don't really see a need of not having a state because I mean we're not even using the clean architecture, so we can just simply just skip that aspect. But one thing I like to do is have in a screen there are some certain events you can do. For instance, you can tap on a particular user record, and then it takes you to a screen to either delete or to either edit or update that particular record. So that's the type of events. That's the type of events. So I can still class to do list events. So AI knows ball. So data class on delete user, val the user entity. So extend to the list events. So this is like so what the skill class is basically a class of which a certain amount of classes can extend from it. So the reason why this pattern is being used, or the reason why this pattern is very, very good, is that it provides us exhaustive when checks, of which you see later on. So the listening user is one of the things we can do on this screen. Another thing we can do on this screen is navigating to the other screen, or just tapping on a particular user record. So on user click, you can call or user click. So like that on add to do click. Also, yeah, that's another thing we can do. So inside here, I will have private val underscore UI event is equal to, can make use of a channel, and then I can pass in the to do list events, and then inside here, next line I can write UI event is equal to this UI event dot receive as flow. So what I am simply doing here, or what I just simply did, is that number one, the reason why this is underscore is because this is the mutable version of this, and this will only be used in this view model class. It can't be used elsewhere. That's so like this is a conventional way of naming things that only be used in the view model. So a channel is simply a class used to send one-time events. For instance, deleting the user is a one-time event. We do not want it to happen two times. We don't want it to happen three times, four times. For instance, imagine you delete a user and then your screen rotates. That user you just deleted, you will still see the user in the screen and it will delete by itself. So these are like bugs, not necessarily bugs. It's just you writing bad code. So what this channel does is simply send one-time events of which once it's been sent, there is no memory of it again, like it's been forgotten. There's no way to get it back, like it's just for one-time events. So this makes it ideal for us to wrap it around events that will be done in a particular screen in our application. And then the next thing is you this user event will receive as flow. So this is what will be made use we'll use this in the composable. So this we are subscribing to this event, meaning this is what we use to like collect the events. If there's any events, we'll be notified that this event just happened, and then we can like choose to do what will happen when this event happens. Like it's a show the snack bar, tell the user that this user has been deleted. So next thing we can do here is on events, and then we can pass. to-do list events. So when, so this is the exhaustive one. So when event is this, we'll do this. When event is this, we'll do this. When event is this, we'll do this. As simple as that. So when we are deleting the user, when the to-do list event this time around is deleting the user, we want to simply what? Delete the user. So we will inject constructor, we'll import this from Jakarta, inject private var repository, we'll call user repository. So we'll simply do what? Repository. In this case, since this is a suspend function, we'll simply call view model scope dot launch. So this simply launch what? In which dispatcher? And launches in the main dispatcher, which is the UI thread. So room database, when you use a suspend function in room database, you already by itself, the library just takes all of these operations to the background thread. In this case, dispatchers.io. So the IO thread is used for network calls and also all these background tasks of which you can wait for it, like network calls and the rest you wait for network calls. So when we have deleted the user, we will then launch it in the main thread, for instance, showing updates. So we can call repository dot delete user, which user the ones delete wants to delete events dot the users. When this user is being got from is that if it's in the scope of this undelete user is a class of which that houses, I say houses, it has this user as a parameter, so delete this user. So when it's on user click, we simply want to navigate to another class. So I think I will create another package. I'll call it common, and then I'll have a class called UI event. So this is the overhead UI event. So the reason why it's common is because this is common among all the host screens. So data class navigates navigates, and then I will change this to-do list to UI events. And then I'll create a method inside the view model class. So private font send UI events of type UI events, and then I will view model scope dot launching in the main thread, and then UI events dot send that event. So what have I done? This UI events class is common amongst all the whole screen in an application in such a way in almost all our screen we can navigate from one screen to another. We can also show the snack bar and we can pop the backstack like going back to the previous screen we were in before we navigated to this next screen. So this is common in our whole application, and that's why it's in the common directory. You also want to have you can also have multiple files in this common directory that is common amongst all your files. For instance, can be routes. Your routes are simply the names of each composable that will be in the navigation graph in your main activity. So in this case, our UI events will be this UI event. So when is to-do list on user click, we then want to do what? We want to send UI events, and then we'll call this UI event dot navigate. We can simply do this. Add edit to do Instead of add edit to do, you can call it add edit user, and then we'll call user ID. So what this simply means that this first add edit user is the name of the composable in the navigation graph that we want to be going to. And then the user ID is a parameter which is nullable that is the events.user.id. So if we go to this screen with this particular user's ID, it will filter out it will just get the information of this particular user. In this case, get user by ID. So it just calls that method get user by ID. This ID we have provided it in this class. So on add to do, what we simply want to do is this add this thing, we'll call it data class, and then I can simply pass name, email, phone, with the type two. This is this this is string, and this is integer. So view model will launch this in the main UI thread. So repository dot insert user. So we'll call user entity. So we're inserting the instance, we're inserting the object in the as the parameter in the repository. So that's why we provided the object, or in this case the instance, like that. So this is not also supposed to be, I just figured out from this is not also supposed to be in this class, because we are not adding any user in this class. This is just for displaying the class. So I can simply remove this like that. I think I'm done with this class. So I can go to the to-do list screen, and the first thing I'm doing here in this place is, I don't know, I have edit. So we can instantiate the view model, or in this case, yeah, instantiate or retrieve an instance of this view model with hilt view model. So this method can only be used in the scope of a composable. So let me check how long this has been. And then the next one we want to do is have our nav controller like that. So we also have our launch effects block, and then so I noticed some place here what of our to-dos, or what of our users is equal to repository that gets all users. I forgot about this. So once this is instantiated, we can call users is equal to view model dot users dot collect as states. Collect as states. So the initial, we need to provide an initial, and initial is an empty list. So what it simply does is that since the user is of type flow, and then it emits values over time based on when there's changes, the initial value of this will be an empty list, of which it will be updated very, very quickly if there are values, basically. So inside here, we're writing the UI. Start with the scaffold modifier, dot fill max size. And then I'll start with a column. I like starting with columns. Modifier, dot fill max size 2 and also padding, and then the padding will be it. So this scaffold, this lambda function actually has padding values inside it. So we're making use of the padding value. So what it simply means is that in our Android device, the status bar, it will detect where the status bar is and just like give like small spaces so that it will not overlap the status bar. So the next thing we want is let's go and create another composable. So this composable will be we'll call it users user item. I'll remove this modifier and then I'll pass in user entity. This will be row, and then it will fill the max width obviously. When it fills the max width, I want to have a column modifier dot also fill max width. And then inside here, I want to have simple text. So I'm not really focusing on design, just making you to understand room database. So this will be user dot name text, another text is equal to user dot dot phone dot string, then user dot email also. Then after this, I think I have a whole vertical center vertically, alignment of center vertically. So that will just center it vertically. And then next line I want is the horizontal arrangements the space between so that it will just carry this from you should store this set of record in this place and store the other one here. It starts at the end basically. So after this column that is here, I want to have another text. And that text will be okay, not a text, but rather an icon. And that icon will have image vector icons dot field dot delete. So this one is another parameter. So context is this. So I'll wrap it around an icon button on click lambda. This will be empty for now. And then I will pass this. I will pass this inside. So inside here, I can simply bring in my lazy column, my lazy column. Remove this parenthesis, so I don't really need it. So the items that will be here is users, users, user. So this user is I forgot is of type flow, so I'll just dot dot value. So the value will just access the list. So like that, then I can just simply do what call user item, and then I'll pass in the user here. So now to delete, I can break this down here like this, and then I can call on events, and then the events is to do list events, to do list events like that, and then it returns nothing. So I will pass it here on events, And then what kind of event we want to pass inside here? Kind of event I want to pass inside here is what is deleting user, and that user will be user. That's the user I'll pass here. So I'll simply do that here by, instead of doing this, I can user, I can just break this to user is equal to user, comma, or the event is equal to view model. I can just do this to like map everything. So we are done with this to-do list screen. So the next now to do is add edit user. So type file to com, add edit user. I will get rid of the this modifier on top here. I will get rid of it. And then inside here, I don't really it should just be modifier, modifier view max size. I don't really take my time to explain the UI because I feel like it's self-explanatory, and when I'm building project, I don't really write the UI. Sometimes it's AI. AI writes majority of everything because in this time in my project, I rather like let AI write UI while I write the I don't the business logic. Okay, so calling modifier dot fill max size also, and then dot padding. It's adjust the padding values also from the scaffold. So outlined line text field. I'll have I think I'll have three others. Outline text field, outline text field. Let's go back to this screen. Okay, don't worry. So inside here, it needs a value, and that value will simply store it here. Val email, supposed to remember compose state, which is mutable state of value, which will be empty string, value, the val again, all of this, all of this. So what this simply means is that this is a variable, but in this case, is in the scope of the composable. Remember, simply like configuration changes is just simply remember the last value and mutable state of is like since this is a state variable, we simply use mutable states. Mutable state of variable since we're also using this remember function or remember function. So the first thing we'll pass inside here is value, and that value will be email dot value. We'll call dot value because we're not using by. Because if I just change it to by, then there's really no need to call um, dot value anymore. So value, I can just get cheeky and just add in a placeholder. That placeholder will have text, uh, text, and that text will be, I'll just say this is a email field. So so like that, and also value like that also. Now I can simply add a button on click and then this to have a text button text save. So inside here, I think I should add edit user, create another view model, add edit user view, extend the view model class. I won't explain all these tools. I've already explained it. So allocate it to view model because we are tying the lifecycle of the view model to the fields this time around. So we go to this place, then just copy. I'll copy this same thing I'm going to write anyway, and then I'll copy this also. I'll copy this, and then I'll have cu class add edit events, and then data class on create user, and then I'll have val name type string, val email also type string, and val phone of type string also. Um, I think that's all because the only thing we'll be doing here is just creating. So inside here we will inject constructor. We'll import that. This will private var repository, user repository, and then we'll also extend, inject save state handle. So this save state handle simply gets what? It gets key value pairs or gets, yeah, key value pairs. It gets the value of the key value pairs that corresponds to whatever you are passing to a class, gets the value of it. In this case, in our navigation or in our to-do list view model, we are navigating to this class, add edit screen, and in this case, we are passing user ID to the class. So save state handle in the navigation graph looks for this key value pair, gets the value, and then whatever I want to use the value to do, we can use to do. So it simply just gets key value pairs from wherever, just from the corresponding node. It's as simple as that. So in it, so like inside here will be var user. I will just user it should be of type user entity, and it will be no. The default value will be no. So now in it, so when this view model finally instantiates, or when the onCreate is being called, when it's being finally brought out, the first thing I want to happen is if or save state handle dot get. So what we are getting is of type string. It's not of type string, rather it's of type int. Int. So the name is user ID basically. So if it's not null, so that's what the list is. So if it's not null, I will call this ID like this, ID like this. So if the ID is not equal to, in this case, -1. So what this simply means is the default value of this ID will be -1 because this particular screen will be accessed from two places. The first screen or the first place you access from is when you want to create a new user. That's from like the far button, the floating action bar button, or it will be accessed by tapping on an already existing user. So tapping on an already existing user is to update that particular user and tapping on the floating action button is to create a new user. So if we tap on the floating action button, we will, when we are navigating to this add edit user class or add edit user screen, we are not sending any ID to the screen. So if we're not sending any ID to the screen, by default, we want the value to be -1. So if the ID is not -1, now we then know that once we then update some certain parameters, want to update some certain class variables and the add edit user view model with the values we have put in. Very, very self-explanatory. So view model scope dot launch exactly. So repository dot get user by ID. I'll pass the ID dot let the instead of user entity, let the user this at add edit user is equal to this. So there's an error mutable. So it's as simple as that basically. So now once we have var var email is equal to mutable state of like that. Also have private set. So this email is a variable that I'll use in the add edit screen instead of what we already provided. This private set simply means it can only be changed where in the view model. So phone var phone is equal to mutable state of like that. Private set, and then the last is var name private set uh like that. So also we want to also change this email is equal to user dot email dot value the phone dot value is equal to user dot phone to string, sorry, to string, then name like that. So what we basically did is as I was saying before, if the value is not equal to -1, the values here will be overridden or override, and then yeah, then I'll then have fun events just like how we already have in that class. Events add edit events when this event is uh, creates user, sorry, creates user. I want to repository dot insert user, and then I simply do what insert entity, and then what do I pass here? I pass all these things inside, but then I forgot to view model scope dot launch, so I copy all of this and I pass it inside here. And after doing this, I simply send user. I pop back stack. So I will add it also inside data objects, pop back stack, and then I will So what it simply does is that it simply just like navigates back to the screen instead of it doesn't navigate, it just goes back to the previous screen. So it's like so it's instead of navigating again, so the screen will be like be stacked on top. It should just simply go back, meaning delete the screen is in. I hope that makes sense. So we also want to update the variable. So on email email change data class on I just want AI to write all of this very quickly. Exactly. So I can implement add the remaining branches. So I can exactly just give it their respective. It just simply updates the variable based on whatever is being updated in the front screen like that. So I simply just go to the add, edit user, remove all of this. Not yet, basically. Nav controller, then view model, add a list, and then we initialize it with hit view model. And then we'll have our launch effects block. View model, the UI events, dot collect latest. So once collect the latest events, we'll just give it results. So when the result navigates or when the result is pop the backstab, what do we want to happen once for the pop backstab because that's the only thing we can do inside we'll just call nav controller the pop backstab. It's as simple as that. Then also for value, we'll simply give it view model dot email dot value. It's as simple as that. So here we'll add view model dot email dot like that is equal to it. I think there's a problem. Dot I'll give this view model dot also view model dot two. So we can do away with this. We don't really it's not that we don't really need it, we don't need it at all. So since we're not going to make use of this inside I can remove this and then just end it with an else unit, meaning if the certain events is anything other than hold the back stack, then nothing should happen basically. So inside the button we can call view model dot on events, add edit events dot on the create user, and then we'll call all of this, and then this will be dot events. Uh, there's there's an issue. Button click view model dot on events, add exactly add edit events, dot on create user. Say okay. It did not extend from this class. So we'll call this, and then AI will complete the rest of it, I think. Phone dot value. Okay. So save. I think we are done. I think we are done. So yeah, we are done. Yeah, also. So in this place, I think I missed something here on user click. So and then there is also uh, data class on add click also, but this will be objects this time around because we're not navigating with the ID. We're creating a new user this time around. So is this I want to call send UI events, send UI events dot navigate, and also navigate where add edit user. So I can val nav controller. So this nav controller, remember nav controller is what we used to navigate from each screen to another screen. So nav host, nav host. The parameter in this first is nav controller. So nav controller is called nav controller. It needs a start destination. Destination. So the start destination, I'll just call it home. This is where I can start calling composables. And then the first thing I'm calling is to do list screen, nav, passing nav controller, and then it needs a name. So I'll call this name. So this will look for its navigation graph, and then we just bring out this screen. So composable, the first composable is add edit user, and then it calls the uh, add edit user nav controller like that. Then we want to also from here this is what will give you the default value. Yes, the default value. So yeah, think we can also have arguments. So the arguments will be of type list. So we can have numerous numerous type of arguments. So nav arguments. Nav argument this time is user ID. Uh, this AI. So the type will be okay. Yeah, nav type dot int, and then we'll give it a default value of this will give it a default value of -1. Basically, yeah, minus 1. I think that's all. That's basically all. Uh, so now to run it for the first time, I'll choose this phone. Then let's run it, and then let's see our application. The UI is not the best. It's not saying the UI is not the best. The UI is not even the last. The UI is not even in the list at all because the UI we try just need to simple black and white. I mean, you can design it yourself, but like as I said before, the aim of this tutorial is room database, nothing more, nothing less. So if there are errors or if there are bugs, we can debug it here, and then I didn't even, I forgot to even create I haven't pushed the code to the repo yet. So don't cheat. Just simply go to the repo, go to the build or Gradle file, then just copy the dependencies, then follow the course or follow the tutorial, follow me build it step by step. So this will take some while to run since this is the first time I'm running this application. I should have run it the first time I started building. And I just remembered we in the to-do list screen, we didn't create the file, the floating action button to go to that screen, to go to the to go to the add edit user screen. I forgot. Although we can still add it, but although the also cancel the app, or instead of canceling the app, I will just floating is a composable floating action button. Floating action button, exactly like that. It's not there's some errors. No value passed for content. Okay, so there are some other I mean obviously there are some other things we need to fill inside here. Oh, it wasn't even imported. Okay, we have to pass in contents, so that content, it can be an icon, image, vector, icons, that field, think art, yeah, art like that. Uh, I really don't know what the problem is now. No, pass for content, On click, pass on click, pass for content. I think it's just when this is done, to just like update itself. Then also here we did not listen for to collect collect so collect collect results. So when result is okay. So this has error. I passed for contents, but for some reason contents description no. There's still a lot of errors. Let me just remove it from now. Uh, I actually don't know what this problem is now. Maybe I leave all of this. Well, the gratitude failed connect to whatever. I will turn off the app for now because this and it's even still boosting up for some reason. So this whatever is happening, this error is the ID is basically the ID is fault. Let me just close the project. Android Studio is very heavy, so I
So finally got the app to work. The name of the app is to this one is this. And then it will crash. So let's go to our Android local. Error. Um, illegal state exception points to inactivity. Does not implement interface dagger yield or dagger generate. Okay, so this is actually an error on my end. In the main activity, we're supposed to annotate this with Android entry points. Whenever you're working with Dagger, you always do this activity that links to all classes and everything that actually uses Dagger. So the error, I think this is fix. Although let's check. Uh, I think this is good so that we'll be able to like debug together. So these are real world errors. So like it's good it's good I show a little bit of transparency so that we all get together. So this will take some time. If you are seeing this, then I said it before. I was not really able to edit it to cut out, but I know it's easy for like actually very good. Okay, so it's done. Let's see. Let's see what we get. Okay, still another error. User database implementation does not exist. So I think we'll have to go to our app module. This is app module. Run the user database. User database, and then the error says cannot find implementation for user database. Zoom annotation. Okay, sorry. So with this, we are supposed to tell tell room database that this is going to be our database. This class is going to be our database. So we'll then specify our entities. Our entity of like list, and then our entities. The name of our entity here is we only have one entity, which is the user entity class, and then we specify version. Version of our app is one. So there we can run it. So these are all errors on my end. When creating a database, I'm supposed to annotate the class with database annotation from Rome, specify the entities. We only have one entity, which is user entity. If not, if we add others, this database will host all of these entities, or these entities are also called tables, as I explained earlier. And then all what you have to do is put a simple comma, then write the other entities. Now this a list or an array list, so it takes other entities. And then the version of the app is one. You go to the settings of the app and check if there is one. Uh, Daga Room also stores the hash of your database schema. So there are some times where you build with Room database, and then after making some changes in your code base, the error you'll be getting can sometimes be Room could not identify the hash provided, and then a quick fix would be to update your version, so you can just update it to two something else. So sorry, this is our application. This is our application. So we do not have any record, and I forgot to put them floating action button. So that will be on the to-do list screen. So I can here specify floating action. Sorry, this floating action button composable, and then this will bring out error. On add click like that, and also we can also like write this place. Okay, let's just run the app now. So it's done. Okay, yeah. So here we go. We have our post action button. So when we click on it, it routes us to this page. So I see email, email. Just I can put anything I want because there's no actual validator to check if it's actually a valid email. So then the phone number I can just write here some numbers. And when I click on save, it takes me back. As you can see, and this is what we get. And then I can do the same thing again, put number, and then save. I can click on one. Okay, we've not added that functionality, but as you can see, it works. I will go ahead and close my it now, so that we can do that now. So in the to-do list screen, I want this to be clickable. So in this row of I can call the clickable, and what I want is on events, call on events, then to-do list events, on user click. I can just pass that inside here. I think that's all. Then delete the color. I think the color is black because I didn't see it. So I can specify. I can add things. Color should be from from graphics. Color should be color white. The reason why we can't see it is because my phone is in, or my AVD is in dark mode. If yours is a white mode, then you don't need to do this. This how you can like make it survive that. If it's in dark mode, it shows the opposite of color and vice versa. So go to the add edit user and this the view model, and then you remove this because I specify user dot name. No, the So after doing that, I've run the application now. Sorry, I'll cancel it. I saw something wrong with code. Also need to specify the ID. So ID is equal to user dot the ID. So this is what I was talking about. If there's conflict, if there's a conflict, just uh, like that. So if I run that, so the install is finished, it's done. So we can click on one now, and then we route to this page of which does not bring out values in the text for some reason. So let me just the app crashed because um here remove the changes to dot value, remove the user two, change dot value, to remove user dot value, and then here we can null, and also in the user entity class, in the user entity class you can change it to null. No, so the default value will be null, and then this error is gone. But there's something. So first of all, let me see. This has to be mutable also. So mutable state of user entity, null, the private set also. So this is like dot value. User dot value. It's called with this user. And then I can run the app now. I think the app everything. Exactly, Room cannot verify data integrity. You can fix this. So this is the error I talked about. So it's a good thing I saw. So I can just like increase the version number here. Even though I literally I changed the ID. Yeah, I changed the ID. So that's why I changed. So there will be an error just okay. Okay, and then okay, since we changed the version number, we need to add migrations to migrations. Whenever you change version number of your room data, you have to have some like migration strategies. In this case, before our view, I will call dot fallback to destructive migration, and this is duplicated or do let me still run it. So this is just like a migration strategy in the sense that in production app, obviously you don't just do it like that, but like to change our version number, it's I think we are migrating from this version to this version. Like that's like explaining what just happened in like simple terms. So I can check the logs to see if there are still errors. There's no any error, and obviously you won't see. We have some data here, so you won't see any data because we migrated to another version of that. So like we were not able to access that database because we are not using that hash. So this is like a new, should I say, new local storage. So inside here, I can specify the name, and then phone number. I'll just put it, and then I save, and then you see it here. And then when I click on it, it's still not showing. It's still not showing anything. And just click the name, and then I'll see duplicate data duplicate data for some reason. So I'll go to the add edit user. So this represents the okay user by this image just loading, so I can just get rid of it because it's not really necessary. So email the value, email the this value equal to this user dot email. When we get that user by its ID, phone dot value stored for phone user phone dot string in the value still. So first of all, let me change all of this by because this value, this dot value can be together with difference. So I'll change it to by, so there's no need to put this dot value anymore. You can just call it here like that. As you can see, then this will so and then also one thing, what you then next let me go to user down. So I think our queries for let's select all from where the I is equals to this I, so we can now to do list screen, still in our to do list screen. I am still not seeing this icon, this delete icon. I think maybe because this is field marks, maybe that's why this is I don't know. So maybe I can just yeah, I can because okay. Sorry, there's also email dot These things are from new model. Okay, the others. Then the errors. There's no need to set it to public. There's no need. I forgot it. You can call the view model dot on events. Then just change it, it's like that. There's no need to do that because that's the reason why I'm doing it. Just- So one sorry this so I can remove this also. Remove this too like that. So I can go to the DAO still, the user DAO. This returns user entity and this also nullable. Nullable. Then I go here. Then I think that's all. So like everything should work now. Okay, on the this working for try it. We'll go to this page and then this is view there's something past 999 then save still nothing it's duplicates so first from thereby so let's go to the screen there my laptop here view model so when we click on particular user send user ID is copied. Then dot the user dot the ID, so that particular ID is being sent. When we go to the main activity and oh, I forgot to pass this here, so you are supposed to pass that here since here everything falls routes. So that was just like a very very tiny mistake. So we can delete, and also when we tap on it now, we should be able to exactly, and then when we click on particular row, it will be updating, or the values will reflect in the text field. So if I should just come here, this one, and add some other key, and when I save it won't be duplicate, rather it will just re-update exactly, just re-updated the existing user, and then I can edit it also. So thank you very very much. I didn't practice this actually. I just carried my computer and then I started coding. It's not grab code, code somewhere that I'm copying. This everything gets scratch. It's still very very bad. Code is easy to grab, and then you have to go through this project. But now, by the end of this video, you go to understand how Room service works. The basic local code functions, create, read, update, and so ciao. Thank you very much.